It seems like there's a running theme with my podcast now that every single time I hit the record button, the wind picks up to about 600 miles per hour and the wind chimes go crazy. That seems to be the case. But nothing I can really do about that. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child, and Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. That one doesn't have the Nightmare on Elm Street moniker attached to it. I think this will probably be part 6 of my episode. My fifth episode of this podcast was on the first season of the Unsolved Mysteries reboot. So if you haven't seen that one or any of the others, go check them out if you're interested. The Unsolved Mysteries episode I thought was kind of interesting. I liked talking about it. It wasn't perfect or really anything spectacular, but it was worth a watch. The fifth or the second season of Unsolved Mysteries came out a couple days ago, so I watched an episode from that, and I'm going to try to get through the whole season and review that for you as well. So that should be coming fairly soon, within the next week or so. So if you're interested in that, you have that to look forward to. Today, like I said, we're going to talk about these two films. I have been saying in the past couple episodes, I'm going to do a combined episode, and I just haven't been able to do it. Part 4, which I really didn't think I was going to have anything to say on that much, ended up being my longest podcast episode ever, which I wasn't expecting. However, I can definitively say that this will be these two episodes, or these two entries in the series, because I have virtually nothing to say about these two. I mean, I have very little things to say, and in fact, this could be one of my shortest podcast episodes. You have to keep in mind that, as I've said before, if you haven't seen the other episodes, I am seeing this series for the first time, which is a bit shocking almost, being a horror fan that I am, but I've never seen them. And so I do have a different perspective than I think most people do who have had these films for years in their life. I've just never seen them, so I'm coming at them very fresh. I'm perhaps being a little bit critical of them, although I am critical of films normally when I watch them for the most part. And, wow, you hear those wind chimes in the background, huh? Really adds to everything. But these were really terrible. I mean, they were two horrible films. And it's almost hard to quantify which one was worse. I don't even know if there's a point in really saying which one was worse. I was doing my rounds on Letterboxd. If you folks don't use Letterboxd and you like movies, absolutely check it out. It's a lot like it's kind of like it's a website where you can review films, you can write reviews and rate them. You can follow people, your friends and stuff, and you have a little feed where you can see their reviews pop up and stuff. It's got a little bit of a social media kind of aspect to it, but it's very light. There's no bullshit, as I've told other people. That's a really good website. It's a lot better than IMDb for just reading about movie reviews and stuff. So yeah, if you don't have a Letterboxd account and that sounds like something interesting, check it out. It's really a helpful website. I like it a lot. But I was doing my rounds on there, like I said, and reviewing the movies I watched and everything. And I think I rated Elm Street 5 a 1 out of 5, and I rated Freddy's Dead a half a star out of 5. Because I was just like, these movies suck. And honestly, I don't know. It could go either way. Like I said, I could flip them, because Part 5, The Dream Child, was really boring. And that is the cardinal sin with a horror movie. I mean, like I've said before, in horror movies, they're very hard to quantify for reviews, because us as fans of them tend to let a lot of things slip for the entertainment factor. The things that simply make movies good. The writing, the acting, the pacing, all that stuff that makes a movie a good movie. A lot of horror movies fail in that aspect, but we still like them. Why? Because they're fun. They're gory. We like to see kills. We like to see, spooky, scary things happening, and we kind of let it slide. And I've related it to like action films. There are a lot of people that don't like horror films, but they love action films, and it's kind of the same thing there. A lot of action films aren't very good either, but they're just fun to watch, so you kind of forgive a lot of the shortcomings of them. Now, I'm not an action film fan. In fact, I'd say that's probably my least favorite genre, but that's kind of like the closest kind of comparison I could make. Part 5 just was boring, though. It was very boring for me, and I said in my Letterboxd review, I'm honestly struggling to remember a lot of the movie. I saw it just about a week ago or so. I'm forgetting the characters' names. I'm forgetting a lot that happened. It was just quite a slog to sit through. Really, it was not entertaining. I didn't think any of the kills were really that fun. And yeah, I just didn't like that movie at all. I thought it was a big, huge mess. Part 6, or if you will, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, was probably worse because it went as extreme in the horror comedy route as you could possibly go in the series. But I did just see it yesterday. So while part of me is almost like there's a strange little bit of a thing that makes me almost like the sixth movie more. I don't know. I think it's just because I just saw it last night and it's very fresh in my mind, and I have, probably a little bit more to say about it. Man, what do I even say about the fifth movie? I almost like feel a bit bad about not talking about it as much as I'm probably going to. Like I've said before, because these are fresh in my mind, I'd really like to come back to them next year after I've had them stew in my brain for a long time, after they've kind of become more ingrained, and so to speak. And, I'll most likely watch all of these again next year. And then I could probably do like a retrospective sort of review on them for, the next season, Halloween season, for podcasts and stuff. And no doubt I will have a different opinion on it. I'll have different things to say about it. But as of right now, I have so little to say about this movie compared to the others. It was probably one of the most like status quo ones. Now, at least the sixth movie really went far with the horror comedy and tried to do some crazy things. I thought it was all pretty bad and ridiculous, and it did try to push some interesting concepts. But this movie was like, if we're going to call part 4 the definitive horror comedy movie where it's an absolute clear change in tone of the series, the fifth movie is just the one that continues that, but does it to worse effect, that just continues this kind of rinse and repeat. We got to put another Elm Street movie out. We got to put another Freddy Krueger movie out. I think that's what I would call this one. Probably the most tired and boring and, I don't know, of the series. And at the same time, the series, this particular movie, tried to do a couple different things. It had the horror comedy stuff pushed even further. It had the ridiculous, goofy kills. It had Freddy as the star of the movie with his goofy lines and everything. But it did try to inject some sort of this cerebral, sort of weird, sort of pregnant child, pregnant Alice in this movie with this kind of demon baby, this soul baby kind of thing. And I was like, I'm forgetting some of the stuff that happened. Like Freddy was trying to get her to collect souls, or I'm like, what even happened in this movie? I don't even remember really, And I was like, should I watch this one again before I do this? And I'm like, I don't want to put myself through that. I don't. I hope you can understand. I really did not like this movie. Alice is the main character in this movie. She's our new end girl. And I think I mentioned before, Alice, these movies were paced and written in a very kind of a messy way, where it's like they're continually shifting the main girl of the movie. And it's always done in an awkward way. Like, Nancy's gone, so then we bring in Kristen, right? So Kristen starts to become our main girl now that we have to get along with, that we have to start to bond with. But Nancy's also in the Dream Warriors. So it's like you have to start to kind of get used to Kristen, but Nancy is also there, and they're kind of splitting duties. Nancy even becomes the main character of that movie, mostly because obviously we're all rooting for Nancy because we love her. But then in the next movie, the fourth one, the Dream Master, Kristen's the main character. So it's like, okay, now we really got to bond with her. But then Kristen dies like halfway through the movie, or not even, whatever I said. So then Alice becomes the main character. Now we have to work with Alice. And in this movie, Alice is the main character, so now we really have to bond to her. And it's this disjointed feel that makes it really hard to connect to these characters fully. And I thought Alice, like, we're on our third girl here, was the worst easily of all of the three. And in the first movie, I thought her acting, honestly, was kind of wooden. No offense to the actress, but it wasn't very good. She had this blank stare on her face most of the movie. And I will say, if I can say a couple positive things about this movie, that she did. I kind of started to tolerate her. And I use the word tolerate. I don't want to say I started to really like her as a character, but I started to tolerate her. I wasn't like, ugh, Alice. I thought she started to kind of come into her own in this one, and I started to think she was okay. Now, of course, in the next movie, she's not there at all, so it's like, one and done kind of, but whatever. So this one, she's got her boyfriend Dan that comes over from the last movie, which I think I hilariously mistook for, I had mentioned like her brother in that last movie, who I think was the Karate Kid kind of guy. I thought that was her boyfriend for half the movie, and it was actually Kristen's boyfriend who died. It was her brother. He dies. And then Dan, her boyfriend, is now in this movie. Dan also, surprise, surprise, dies in this movie. Very traumatic. Wow. And now we got a new cast of friends. She's graduating from high school. I'll just read what their names are. She has Greta, who is a supermodel. Mark, the comic book fan. And Yvonne, who is basically the swim team chick. So, yeah. So, Alice is pregnant in this movie, and I wasn't quite sure, and again, feel free to correct me, feel free to explain, because I was getting real confused with this one. She's pregnant, and it was like, okay, is it Dan that impregnated her and Freddy's trying to take over the baby, or was it actually Freddy that impregnated her? I don't really remember, to be honest with you. I think it was probably that. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no fucking clue. I don't really remember. Whatever. You can tell I'm really happy about this movie. It just goes through the motions, basically. We get a couple kills in here. Her friends get killed off, of course. That's what we're here to see. And I actually had mentioned in the last one that there was this kind of cool scene, but it was a little goofy, where Dan is riding a motorcycle and gets like the motorcycle takes over his body, and it becomes this weird body horror sort of motorcycle where his skin gets peeled back and he kind of like morphs into the motorcycle. That's in this movie, I guess, not in the last one. I'm getting them confused. I've seen so many of these damn movies at this point. That's in this one, if you're aware of that one. So that's how Dan dies in this one. No, not in the last one. That was all right. I thought that was kind of interesting to look at. I do like body horror, so I'm like, all right, whatever. What else do we got in this fucking film? Probably what I thought was probably the best kill in this film, although I wouldn't say it was fantastic or anything. It was very goofy, but I thought it was kind of cool. Was Greta, her friend, who's rich, is at a dinner party with her mom and all of her friends, and she falls asleep, and Robert Englund plays a waiter. He does this a lot, where he does it actually in the fourth movie, which I don't think I mentioned, where he's the nurse dressed up in drag and everything. Kind of funny. And then he always morphs into Freddy. So it's really Freddy, but you get to see Robert Englund without the makeup on or anything. And he's a waiter, and then he starts force feeding Greta, and her cheeks get like real busted out, and it's real disgusting. There's like some prosthetic makeup on her. Very, very goofy, but it was pretty gross. And I kind of appreciate the gross stuff sometimes. It kind of makes up for some of the, most of the shortcomings of these kind of films. I like that kind of stuff, so I thought that one was pretty gross. And then she just kind of dies. And then we get a scene where Alice opens her fridge, and you get to see some stop motion bullshit, which was super fake looking. But as I've said before, I am always a huge sucker for stop motion animation. Even if it's bad, it's like that Pee-wee's Playhouse sort of vibe. Actually, that's what I got from this, because if you've seen Pee-wee's Playhouse, whenever he opens the fridge, there's always a little stop motion thing. That's immediately what it reminded me of, and it was almost like, was that a little throwback to that or something? A very macabre sort of throwback? I don't know. That's what I thought with that one. Then we get, like, she goes into all these dream sequences, and then there's like this little creepy kid in the dream sequence who's supposed to be her son in the future, who's kind of warning her and stuff. It was so boring. It was so convoluted. And I don't know. There was another kill where her friend that was the swim team chick died. She goes up on the high dive board, and like the arm, Freddy's like gross. I don't even think it was arms. I think it was like tentacles or something that kind of came out and grabbed her. That one didn't do anything for me. I thought that was just another rinse and repeat sort of kill. What happens at the end? Well, actually, then we got the worst kill in the movie, which is where her comic book friend falls asleep and gets pulled into this comic book world. And then you see Freddy like slicing up the 2D sort of comic book character or whatever. Some people say they like that scene. I just was like so over this film at that point. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So then she goes into this MC Escher sort of dreamscape thing, which was getting too ridiculous for me, of course. I'm sure you all know my thoughts at this point. But some of the set pieces here were kind of cool. I kind of thought it was kind of, at the very least, interesting to look at. They do get back to that church scene from the first movie, which I said I thought was a pretty cool set. And then Freddy just fucking dies. We get to see like a little demon infant Freddy, which was ridiculous looking. Yeah, and then Freddy basically dies again for the 15th time, and then there's a little epilogue, but nothing really happens. You see some kids doing from the first movie at the end where they're jumping rope and they're singing the little nursery rhyme, and that's basically it. And that's the last we're going to see of Alice, right? Yeah, I know I'm not being remotely as descriptive of this film as I was of the previous ones, but I just thought this was terrible. I mean, it was really hard to watch. Now, the fourth movie I didn't really like. I said it was very hokey. It's that comedy shit that I'm not digging. It was very MTV-like. It was a product of its time. It was very tired. This one is just tenfold from that one. I mean, I struggled to watch it. It was very, very boring. Very boring. I was like, really, to be honest, with these two films, I'm like, man, I really am going to struggle to do a review on these and do a podcast episode because I just have such little to say. They were so mediocre. And I don't even have the energy to go through and dissect everything and talk about it. I could sit here and go through every scene in the movie and shit on it, but I just don't want to do that. I don't want to sit here and just, I don't know. I just don't want to sit here and nitpick everything because I don't have the energy to do that with this one or the other one, really. And honestly, I want to save that energy to do New Nightmare, which I kind of liked, and I thought I had a lot to say about that one. I have a ton. Of course I'm going to do a full episode on New Nightmare, but that was the one that I was like really looking forward to doing. And I watched that one right after I watched Freddy's Dead. Immediately after I stopped the film, got a glass of water, jumped right into New Nightmare. So you can imagine a very big stylistic difference and a very big shift in my interest in the film. So that was The Dream Child. It sucked. I thought it was terrible. And I really don't even want to watch this one. Like I said, I've already said it, but Dream Child or Dream Warriors, I even said, even though it's a fan favorite, I didn't even really care for that one that much. I thought it was entertaining and fun, but I'll watch it every year. Even Part 4, which I really didn't like, I'll probably still watch it every year. This one, I don't even think so, man. Maybe if I'm doing a big marathon, but this one sucked. I don't really want to sit down and watch this movie again. I'm glad I saw it, as all the others. It's iconic. It's an iconic series, and I have to see all of them. But I don't really want to watch this again. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? So I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll jump into Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, which was a huge mess of a movie. That one was bad, but I'll still give you my thoughts on it. All right, everybody, grab a drink or whatever else you like to do or whatever, and I hope you're enjoying this podcast series. This one's a little low energy, but I hope you can understand, and I'll be right back with you. All right, folks. So let's do the sixth movie, which does not have the A Nightmare on Elm Street tag. It's just called Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. This one was terrible. I don't think that that's a very unpopular opinion. I think most people think this is the absolute worst movie in the series. I might have a couple more things to say about it. Who fucking knows? And like I just said earlier, I think this was absolutely terrible. So I think actually probably this was the worst one in the series. But when I watched it, I almost was slightly more engaged because of the fact that they didn't try to say get real cerebral like they did with the last one and do all add all this extra shit that you have to think about, because these movies now are not meant for you to think about. They are just totally rinse and repeat. They are meant to just make money and continue the franchise. And the last one tried to add this kind of thing to it, and it's like now we have to pay attention to that and the slasher shit. I don't know if I'm making much sense, but that's kind of how I felt. This one was like we're gonna embrace the campiness and the horror stuff, and this absolutely pushes the horror comedy to the extremes in the series. I mean, this isn't a horror movie at all, really. Besides the fact that you have a couple creepy scenes and kills and stuff. I mean, it's tries to be funny. I think it fails mostly at all of the comedy aspects of it, but that's what it tried to do. This one was actually directed by Rachel Talalay, who was I think a production assistant on all the last films. I've been watching some of the interviews and things like that, and she was always in there, and I knew that she had directed one of them, and I guess this is the one. And it's kind of bad for a movie when you watch these interviews and they're all kind of either saying the movie is bad and they're aware of it, or they're trying to make excuses. Like Robert Shea, who has produced a lot of these movies, he's probably well known to some of you. In the interviews with him, you could tell he was trying really, really, really hard to be nice about this movie, but he was kind of beating around the bush, kind of to say it wasn't good. He's the producer. He's not going to straight up say it was a piece of shit. But I think this was probably one of the worst received movies at the time, and definitely didn't make a ton of money. It actually wasn't the least grossing film. That award goes to New Nightmare, which is kind of surprising, but actually not really surprising that they're going to try to do something different and cerebral, and of course it's not received as super well or whatever. But anyways, with this fucking film, oh my god. So we have this character, John Doe, who kind of starts in an airplane, and there's a lot of goofiness. He falls out of the airplane, he falls up in his room. You see Freddy as the Wicked Witch of the West right at the beginning. Kind of appreciate that, because they're like, you know what you're in for. They're going super goofy right away. They're telling you, yeah, it's going to be like this. So there's that. And this is the same problem with I kind of had with part 3 and 4, really. Well, mostly part 4, where they give you these characters that you want to root for. Well, first off, the John Doe character is angsty and annoying. So I don't really want to root for this guy. Very wooden actor as well. It's very hard to connect with this character. But then we also have Dr. Maggie Burroughs, who is helping him at this troubled children's shelter kind of thing. And she's also the main character. So you're trying to split your time between these two people, and it never works. There's never enough time, and there's never enough character development. And he eventually dies later in the movie. He falls out of... Freddy cuts his parachute, and he falls in some spikes or whatever, and then she becomes the main character. The main thing with this movie, and basically the whole thing, is that she takes him back to Springwood because she sees something in his pocket relating there, so she thinks that'll help his trauma or whatever. And it really ends up being that Maggie is Freddy's daughter back before he was killed. He had a wife and kids. He was super abusive to his wife. His daughter had seen some of the things relating to him killing kids. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Sorry, I just had a phone call, so I took a break. This movie is a piece of shit, man. I mean, there's one good kill in this movie, and it's when the kid who is deaf, and by the way, that's not how hearing aids work. Now, I don't really know a ton about hearing aids, and I'm not deaf myself, but that sure as fuck is not how hearing aids work. You can't just you take your hearing aid out and you're totally deaf, and you put it back in, and boom, you're fine. You can hear everything. I don't think that's how it works, but whatever. Freddy pulls that kid into his dream, and he, makes the hearing... He cuts his ear off, which I thought was kind of gross. He sticks a Q-tip in his ear. I was like, okay, a couple points for that. But then the hearing aid morphs to the kid's ear, and he's dropping pins and shit, and then he's scratching his fingers on the chalkboard, and the kid's head explodes. I was like, all right, that's probably the best kill in the movie. Everything else was lame. There was the Power Glove scene where the kid's in the fucking TV and he's like a video game character. That was like laughably terrible. I'm like, you guys didn't even try, you know. And then anyways, we get to the end where it's this big 3D ending because that's what they wanted to do to finish the series, and it's very almost meta like. She puts the 3D glasses on, and it's kind of like hinting to the audience like, time to put your glasses on. And yeah, you're going to get all this shitty 3D stuff with stuff popping out and stuff like that. And it doesn't work now because we don't have the 3D or whatever. But it's just super hokey. And she ends up pulling him out of the dream, and they beat the shit out of him. And, you know, the way that she kills him is by sticking a fucking pipe bomb in his chest. Probably the goofiest way to kill him. And then when he explodes, this horribly composted image of Robert Englund's face rushes towards the camera, and then the movie's over. Really a lame way to kill him, like after all, you know. And it's like, I guess that's what they wanted, some crazy 3D effect, or they wanted him to die in a crazy way. Obviously the death in the fourth movie is way cooler than this. Something like that would have been awesome, but that's what they went with. And I know the director had even said she doesn't like this movie, and she thought they really screwed her over and everything because they really wanted that 3D effect, so it wasn't like what they originally did. And that's the thing with these movies, is a lot of the times they're not as good as they actually originally wrote them. You know, they changed the script. The MPAA makes them censor all of the gore and blood because they're really a censorship program. I'll do an entire podcast about the MPAA. They're real bad. Actually, there's a really good documentary about the MPAA you guys can check out. But and then they give them tiny ass budgets. Because they're like, well, you made the first one on a small budget and made a lot of money, so keep doing it. And then they also give them a very short time to make the movie. So I can't fault the directors totally for all of this, because they're screwed by the production company. You know, it's how it is. It's unfortunate, but they're like, you got to push this shit out as fast as possible. This movie is just awful. I mean, there's so many other things I could say about it, but like, why? I don't feel like wasting my time with it. It was just absolutely awful. It was super hokey and goofy. There was one cool scene where they go in to stay in this house to squat in, and it kind of like implodes on itself and rips apart, and it's actually the Elm Street house. That was an interesting effect. I thought that was kind of a cool little bit of practical effects. I like that. But most of this movie was awful. One good thing I can say was that the music was actually very good. The music was written by Brian May. Not the Brian May from Queen, an Australian composer. I thought the music was excellent in this movie. So that's one good thing to say. But most of the movie was absolutely terrible. And like the fifth movie, I don't want to see this one again. I could have done without not seeing it. I don't think I'm going to be watching this one again. So yeah, this is a short one, but those two movies were horrible. Awful films. Don't really want to ever watch them again. Next up is New Nightmare, or Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is a total 180. Completely different. Wes Craven's back. All the original characters are back. We all know it's a meta film. They're playing themselves. There's a lot of weird shit going on. But completely, utterly different. Couldn't be more different than this movie. Total return to the horror vibe. And I'll do that next. I liked it. Might be surprising to some. I didn't love it. I thought I was really going to love that movie. I was a little let down because, well, I'll talk about that. But I wasn't like... I didn't like it as much as I thought it was going to, but I didn't dislike it. I thought it was very enjoyable. So yeah, we'll do that the next time. Sorry, this was a little short, like I said, but I think you can agree with me that these movies are fucking terrible. That's just all I have to say about them. I hope you're all enjoying things. I got a couple more things coming, like I said, the Wes Craven New Nightmare, Unsolved Mystery Season 2, and then tons of other stuff. Stay scared, watch good movies, have a great day.